Welcome to MooMooMath. Today we're going to look at characteristics of quadratics. So here is a graph of a parabola, which is also known as a quadratic. It's facing down and it's got intercepts at +2 and +6. And it's got a vertex at the point 4, 4. So working with this, we're going to define some characteristics. So the first thing we want to define is the domain. The domain means what values of x will work in this function. Well, if you look, the graph goes to the left and it goes to the right continuously. So the domain is all real numbers. If you write that in interval notation, that will be from -infinity to +infinity, meaning all real numbers. The other way to write that is there's like a double line R that also represents all real numbers. Now range. Range looks at the values of y. How high does the graph go? How low does the graph go? Well, if you notice, the graph goes down forever. But the graph does not go up forever. It has a peak at the vertex. So what we want to do is look at the y value. How high does it go? It stops at a +4, which is on the y-axis. That's the highest point. So since it's going down forever and then the peak is at 4, we write this as -infinity is the smallest value up to +4. Now -infinity, we're going to put a parentheses there, but 4, we're going to use a bracket. We use a bracket because 4 is an exact value and 4 is part of the domain. In other words, we can get a 4 out when we plug a +4 into the function. Now, the other way to write that is as an inequality. So you can say all the y's that are less than or equal to +4. And notice we're including +4, and that's what it looks like with a bracket. It includes 4. Okay, the vertex. The vertex is just the point at the maximum in this case. It's the point where the graph turns from going up to going down. And that point is at the point +4, x, y. The axis of symmetry. That's the line that goes down the center of the parabola, and it's symmetric across the parabola. So you have matching points on either side of this line. What's a vertical line? So it's an x equals equation. And where does it go? It goes through the point 4 on the x-axis. So it's a vertical line going through the point 4. The y-intercept, okay? We actually don't know what the y-intercept is from the graph. The y-intercept will cross this at some point down here. Now, I can figure that out knowing my pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 1, down 1. There's my first point. Then I'm going to go over 1, down 3. That's my second point. Then I'm going to go over 1, down 5. And that's my third point. So now I'm at -5. Okay, I'm still 1 away from this y-axis. So you're going to go over 1, down 7 more. And that's going to put me at -12. So the y-intercept is at -12. I'm sorry, 0. -12 is the ordered pair down there at -12. So the pattern for a parabola is over 1, down 1, over 1, down 3, over 1, down 5, in increasing odd integers, then over 1, down 7, over 1, down 9. And that's how you can find the pattern and graph the pattern. Okay, zeros. The zeros mean where does the graph cross the x-axis. So let's look at this x-axis. It's crossing at +2 and +6. So we're going to write the zeros. You can write it two ways, either as an x value, because that's where x is equal to 0. So you can write it as 2 and 6, or you can write them as ordered pairs, 2, 0, and 6, 0. I prefer the ordered pairs. Okay, maximum and minimum. The maximum value is just how high does the graph go. Well, if you're talking highs and lows, that means you're going to use your y-axis because that's your high, that's your up and down direction. So how high does it go? It goes all the way up to 4. So that is the maximum value, 4. Interval of increase and decrease. Okay, interval of increase and decrease. I like to think of a roller coaster. Okay, if you get on the roller coaster on the left side, and just as if you're reading a book, left to right, we're going to see where the graph goes up and where the graph comes down. Where does it go up or down? So starting from the left side, I'm going up until I get to the vertex. So that means this side of the parabola is actually my interval of increase. So I read this off the x-axis. So I'm discussing my domain. So where's the graph increasing? Well, that's from negative infinity all the way up to positive 4. So negative infinity to 4 is where my graph is increasing. And again, I read that off the x-axis. Then it changes directions up here where x is 4, and it starts decreasing. So where am I going to list my interval of decrease? From 4 to positive infinity. That's where the graph is coming down. So think of the roller coaster. You get on the right. This is going up the hill. So that's my interval of increase. This side's going down. So that's my interval of decrease. Okay, end behavior. End behavior just is saying which way is the graph going as it goes off. Does it go up? Does it go down? Does it go up or does it go down? So we're going to look at two sides of the graph. First, we're going to look where x is going to negative infinity. That means if my graph goes to the left as it's going more negative, what's the graph doing? Well, it's going down, so it's going to negative infinity. This side is saying as x goes to positive infinity. It's really hard to read that, so I'm going to write it on top. So as x goes to the right, what's the graph doing? The behavior is also going down, so it's going to negative infinity. So on a parabola, these will match. They will either both be going up or both be going down, and this one's facing down, so they're both going down. Okay, find the average rate of change. Okay, average rate of change is a fancy word for slope, but because this is a curve and not a line, we don't have a constant rate of change, so we have to look at an interval. So we're going to look at the interval from 2 to 5. So I'm going to look at my graph and I'm going to highlight the point where x is 2 right here, and that's actually at the point 2, 0. It says it's one of the zeros. And then 5. This point is at 5, positive 3. Now, the rate of change is really just my slope if I connect those 2 points. So if I connect the 2 points, what's the slope of this line I just drew? I'm going up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3. So that's 3 over 3 or a positive 1. So that is my rate of change or my slope, how much the graph is changing in my rise and my run direction on that interval. So there are the characteristics of a parabola. I hope this video was helpful.